The wilds of Alaska are a vast and untamed frontier.
People come here to escape from society, escape from their lives elsewhere, and escape into the wild.
Amid the rugged wilderness, people vanish at an eerily high rate.
But oftentimes, the wild takes over.
In a remote mining village, deep in the icy interior, 7 people go missing in 24 hours.
People just kept going to the landing and somebody else go check on them, and then they wouldn't come back either.
And no one is prepared for what lies in wait.
This could be the most terrible thing that ever happened in the little town of Manley.
Manley Hot Springs, Alaska is as much a state of mind as it is a place on the map.
It's the middle of nowhere, it's the end of the road. Not many folks went there. Very quiet little community. I think there were 50 people living in Manley at the time.
The gold mining community sits along the Tanana River, just 150 miles from Fairbanks. But the trek to get there takes 5 hours down a treacherous gravel road.
It had to be a destination. It's a place that you really had to want to go to. You just didn't go by it.
The 50 residents who call Manley home can easily fall victim to the mercy of cabin fever. From maddeningly long winters, where temperatures can plunge to 70 below, they're equally wary of so-called end-of-the-rotors, who are all too common in these parts.
An end-of-the-rotor is a person who comes to Alaska, wants to escape and be away from society. And they drive their car to the end of the road, and generally there's a town at the end of most roads in Alaska. And it's a great place to find solitude and a great place to escape.
Jack London wrote a lot of books, and we call it the Jack London syndrome. You want to go out, live in the woods, be your own boss, do your own thing. Nobody can tell you what you have to do or what you can and cannot do, and you're just going to be like a utopia or something, but it doesn't work that way.
In the spring of 1984, the residents of Manley are anxiously awaiting the time of year known as breakup, when the frozen tundra thaws, the river flows freely again, and life begins anew.
Oh, it's awesome. Big chunks of ice, huge chunks of ice, and it sounds like thunder.
When the ice goes out, it is the last hurrah of winter, and spring and summer are on the way, and that means that transportation on the river is now available.
On May 17th, Vietnam vet Joe McVeigh and his good friend Dale Medaiske head to the boat landing about a quarter-mile outside of town.
Kirsten and I were going to make lunch, and the guys were going to go check the river to see if the ice had broken up yet. I don't know what it was, but it just came in really clear, and so a feeling slammed into me, and I know I stood up and turned around and looked at the window, and I told Kirsten, we'll never forget today. This day will always be with us.
I know, I just feel like we're never gonna forget it.
In a good way?
Sure.
Later that afternoon, when the men fail to return, their wives begin to wonder what could be keeping them. The women drive to the landing. They find Joe's boat still on the trailer.
Something's wrong. They wouldn't have left their beer in the car.
Kirsten looked in the truck, and I remember her distinctly saying, "Something's wrong. They left the beer."
Alice also recognizes another local's vehicle parked at the landing. Albert Hagen was visiting his parents in Manley and had gone to the river that morning to throw out some brush he had cleared from their land.
The guys were nowhere to be seen, and neither was anybody else. And you know, it was confusing.
Given the unusually warm weather, the women think that Joe and Dale may have gotten sidetracked. Perhaps they ran into Albert and invited him along.
The thought that occurred to a lot of the folks there, just, well, they probably just went over to fish camp, or maybe they just went for a hike. Nothing really out of the norm.
But by noon the next day, there is still no sign of the three men. That afternoon, friends and family of the missing gather together. They're terrified something horrible has happened to their loved ones.
We're missing Dale, Joe, Albert.
They suddenly realize others in Manley have also vanished.
No one has seen any of them. You haven't, right?
People just kept going to the landing, and everybody's wondering, I wonder why they didn't come back from the landing, and somebody else go check on them, and then they wouldn't come back either.
People were just missing with no explanation.
What about the Kleins? I know I talked to Joyce about 2 days ago, but she didn't mention she was leaving.
Okay.
Lyman Klein, his pregnant wife, and their son had last been seen the day before, riding to the riverbank on their four-wheeler.
A friend of ours called us and wanted to know where they were. Their four-wheeler was parked down at the landing and they weren't there. And we said, oh, you know, they probably went up to their property that they had upriver.
We'll go check on the Kleins.
Go. Go check on them now.
The family was known to leave town on occasion, but not without asking someone to take care of their dog. Frantic, several neighbors head to the Klein's home. Strangely, they find the dog unattended.
Joe!
I don't see anybody.
I don't see anybody either.
Meanwhile, others head to the boat launch in the hopes the missing may have returned. They notice another unattended vehicle, that of a young stranger who had driven into Manley only days earlier.
He had been around town for, I think he was here for a total of about 7 to 10 days, and so people got used to him. He was camped down at the landing, which is the riverbank, and it wasn't unusual to see him down there or to see him in town.
But the newcomer is also among the missing in Manley. Residents scour the dock for any sign of their family and friends, but are left with more questions than answers. Nearly 1/10 of the town is unaccounted for.
Once you have that many people missing, that many people in question, alarm bells start going off. Something's amiss here. Something's wrong.
So what's going on?
We've called everybody. We're missing Dale, Joe,
People in the tiny town of Manley Hot Springs, Alaska, are disappearing at an alarming rate. 6 people, nearly 1/10 of the town, are missing.
All of a sudden, people were wondering, well, where did they go? People weren't looking for them. They saw their car, their 3-wheeler, but there was no sign of these folks.
But some residents think there's a simple explanation, that the spring-like weather may be to blame.
The ice had gone out, you were able to boat, people were putting their boats in and going and doing things, and so it wasn't unusual for people to go to the landing or get in their boat or do whatever and not show up for 2 or 3 or 4 hours or even, all day.
Meanwhile, folks in Manley are unaware of what's unfolded weeks earlier, some 150 miles downriver, in the tiny rental cabin community of Hopkinsville.
It was very rustic, no phones, no power, just a cheap place to park, live.
Roger Culp had called the place home for years.
He came during the pipeline days and he just kind of stayed. He definitely, drank a little bit too much, but he was kind of a happy guy and just was real mellow as a neighbor. He would love to come over when I was baking bread. He could smell it baking, and he would just come over and knock on the door and come in and visit for a while.
But no one has seen or heard from Roger in more than a week. And he's not alone. Neighbors notice other things are also disappearing. Hopkinsville resident Wendy Hooker is missing a moose hide, a valuable commodity during the winter months.
I was planning on tanning it, and there was no time to tan it before winter, so I cut it in 4 big sections and I dried it. And I put it on the line near my cabin. The next morning when we woke up, all of the moose hide was gone.
She's immediately suspicious that another neighbor, Michael Silka, may have taken it.
He was a real quiet guy, didn't really look anybody in the eye, was just kind of kept to himself.
She goes to Silka's cabin to confront him and notices something peculiar.
There was a funny mound of snow near his cabin to the left as I walked up to it. I got to the door and I knocked several times and no one answered. And so then I walked around the back side of his cabin and there was another mound of fresh snow. And I thought, that's weird, I wonder what he has in that mound. So I walked back around the cabin, I knocked on the door again, no one answered.
Wendy searches the property for Silka, but can't find him anywhere. She decides to question neighbors about his whereabouts.
Janelle, have you seen Michael? No. Something really strange.
I went back into our neighborhood and I asked other people, has anybody seen him? And nobody had.
Take care.
Hours later, she returns to Silka's cabin and notices something even more disturbing.
I noticed that my footprints that were in that fresh snow on the walkway, some of them had filled with blood. The blood was seeping up from underneath into my footprints.
Wendy races back to her cabin and tells her husband about what she's witnessed.
Babe, you gotta come. There's trouble over here. There is blood on.
Truly, a lot of us hunted and fished. We trapped small animals. We did do things like that. So I think my first thought was that he had killed an animal.
I think something strange.
My husband thought that maybe he had tried to get a moose or something, but it just didn't seem right to be hiding it.
Just go get the lamb.
Oh.
I was just uneasy that something had gone on, and I wasn't sure what.
The couple share their concerns with their landlord. They decide to take another look at Silka's cabin.
Hey, Michael.
This time, he answers the door.
Michael came out of the cabin, and he said that he had taken it and that he would bring it back. He had thought he could have it all.
Like I said, she told me I could have it. I thought I could take the whole thing.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Fearing there may be more to Silka's story than he's willing to admit, the landlord calls police. But as the information is passed from person to person, it somehow becomes garbled. Troopers wrongly surmise that neighbors believe Michael Silka has met with foul play. Later that day, authorities check out Silka's cabin. They knock on his door, but there is no response. They search the area and find drops of blood, but no evidence of the pools of blood Wendy reported. However, the fresh mounds of snow are clearly visible. They dig up the mounds and discover nothing more than a buried moose hide.
Troopers didn't detect anything more suspicious.
Before leaving, troopers pound on the cabin door once more. This time, they're met by surprise when Silka answers. Strangely, he has been there all along.
He came out and talked to them briefly. Said he had shot this moose and he just had the hide hanging there and dripping down on the ground.
And this explanation why the blood's there, which was a fairly reasonable explanation, they sort of felt, well, I guess the case is closed.
Thank you for your time, sir. All right, have a good one.
Searched the area, searched the cabin, found nothing else.
Officers leave without even looking for Roger Culp. With Silka unharmed and now off their radar, they decide there is no reason to pursue his missing neighbor.
It's not uncommon for people to go missing in Alaska. It is such a vast and rugged place that oftentimes the circumstances are completely unknown and nobody knows why.
3 weeks pass, and no one in Hopkinsville sees any sign of Roger Culp. Meanwhile, in nearby Manley Hot Springs, 6 other people have seemingly disappeared. While searching the river landing for clues, residents find an unattended vehicle, that of a young stranger who had only recently made his way to Manley.
He was what we would call an end-of-the-rotor, and all of those people are somewhat odd, but you didn't really think a whole lot about it. You know, you just accepted them for what they were.
Mostly it's guys. They come to Alaska with this big idea that they're gonna come to the end of the road here like Manley and go out and live in the woods and build a cabin and live off of the land.
The newcomer slept in his car on the riverbank. He claims to be waiting for the ice to thaw so he can head upriver to stake some land.
The draw to Alaska can be just searching for that mountain man lifestyle or the hope of gold or riches in the oil fields and all sorts of things that are kind of dangled from afar. I mean, people come this way hoping for something better.
But this guy seems out of sorts, telling people of his plans to fish for bass and pike.
Those are just 2 fish species that don't exist in that part of the interior. And so people thought that was a little odd.
He didn't seem right. And he kind of withdrawn and out there in his ideas. He seemed skilled, but not knowledgeable to the Alaskan environment. You meet people that are extremely clear with Alaskan knowledge about where they're going, what they're doing, and how to. And he didn't appear to be that way.
Still, there have been oddballs in Manley before. Like the fundamentalist who came one winter planning to walk to Siberia to convert the Russians.
I mean, we're all odd too. The whole town of Manley is odd. Alaska gets its share of strange people because, you know, it's the last frontier and people, oh, I want to walk from here to there, and it's just somewhere to test your feet, I guess.
Now, fearing the stranger in town may also be among the missing, residents jot down his vehicle's license plate and notify police.
I called the troopers and I gave them the first 3 letters off the car tag, and they gave me the next 3 numbers. I didn't have to finish it. They already knew they were looking for him. They just didn't know where he was, is what it seemed like.
Authorities trace the vehicle and find it belongs to 25-year-old Michael Silka. They've heard the name before. He's the same outsider who raised eyebrows in nearby Hopkinsville.
We didn't know to connect the dots, but we had, in fact, been afraid enough that we were sleeping with a pistol in our bed.
Fear quickly mounts in the small Alaskan village of Manley Hot Springs as residents begin disappearing one by one. Meanwhile, 150 miles away in the rental cabin community of Hopkinsville, there's something equally sinister going on.
I was listening to the radio, flipping radio stations. I got a little blip that they were looking for someone somewhere that was not good. And I remember thinking, well, we live way out here, it doesn't really pertain to us.
Longtime Hopkinsville resident Roger Culp has vanished without a trace. Police had searched the community once already after residents reported seeing pools of blood in the snow, but found nothing more than a moose hide. Now, more than a week later, another Hopkinsville resident comes forward with a chilling story. She tells police she and Roger had been chopping wood behind his cabin when another resident, Michael Silka, walked by with a rifle and confronted them.
Who's this? I don't know. Hey, what are you doing?
That's how you do it.
The neighbor said that she was very scared, that she had been out talking with Roger that day and doing something in her yard, and that Roger and Michael had had words.
Really?
Who's that? I don't know who he is. No,
Hey!
no, don't go after him. Don't go after him. He's got a gun.
Where are you going?
The woman claims Roger was so angry he followed Silka to his cabin, despite her pleas to let him be. Minutes later, she is startled by the sound of gunshots. Because Hopkinsville does not have telephone service, the woman is unable to call police, and she is too terrified to walk 200 yards for help.
She had just locked herself in the cabin and was afraid to come out.
Armed with the new information, police are anxious to talk to Michael Silka again.
I went back out there to do another investigation. And at this time, he was gone. His vehicle's gone, he's gone, the place is empty.
Investigators spend 2 days combing the grounds around Silka's shack. They brush away patches of peat and uncover a disturbing find: spots of dried blood. Soil samples are sent to the state crime laboratory. On May 16th, the lab confirms that the blood isn't from any animal. It's the blood of a human.
We didn't have a body, we didn't have a confession. We didn't know whose blood that was. It could have been his blood. At that point, we didn't have any comparisons. But we certainly wanted to talk to him in a worse way.
2 days later, residents in nearby Manley Hot Springs call state troopers and offer up the license plate of the newcomer in town, Michael Silka. Police are now aware that the man they've been wanting to talk to about Roger Culp's disappearance has made his way to Manley.
Once I heard that, I suspected that nothing good's happened there.
It's a sinking feeling that this is not some ordinary case. This is not people that have gone out on trips or what have you and just not come home for whatever reason.
To make matters worse, the river is just breaking up. People in Manley are seemingly trapped with nowhere to run.
What did you see? What did you find?
I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything else.
They now suspect the stranger among them has evil intentions, and they know it will take hours before troopers are able to get there.
Being out of touch with society can be incredibly dangerous. There's no help that far from the world.
I had a loaded rifle here because nobody knew where Silka was at, whether he was going to come to your place or, I mean, hiding out in the woods, or we didn't really know at the time.
Everything's gonna be okay.
I don't think anybody had any idea where Silka really was.
In the early morning darkness of May 19th, Alaska state troopers converge on the remote Alaskan village. A helicopter lands in the only accessible area, the boat dock, stirring up a massive amount of river silt, burying any potential evidence. Troopers set up a roadblock along the lone road into town. At first light, they stage an aerial and ground search for the 6 missing residents.
A slight misty rain began to fall in that landing. And as it washed the dust away, pools of blood and old footprints and stuff popped up. Well, the dust washed off some bright .44 caliber shells that were laying around the landing in the blood. Then it was obvious, of course, this was the crime scene.
Near the riverbank, troopers spot the Klein's 4-wheeler hidden in the brush. They also find Joe McVeigh's bill cap. And there are massive drag marks near the water's edge.
I could finally make out depressions. There was something smoothed out, and there were striations that were indicative of clothing, belts, things worn by people causing those striations, and bodies going into a deep hole in the river.
But authorities have no way to know if all those missing in Manley are dead, or if Silka might be holding them hostage. Desperate for answers, authorities take to the skies to find the dangerous suspect.
Thick as all the trees and brush was, he could very easily slip away from the troopers. And if we put troopers on the ground and search him, he could lay in ambush and kill more than just one.
Troopers had barely begun their hunt before they suddenly stumble upon an unexpected sight.
And there was a woman on the riverbank waving her down. And she said her husband had gone to town as the river had broken up in his riverboat, and she wondered where he might be.
She'd last seen her husband, Fred Burke, 2 days ago.
We thought we had them all accounted for in Manley. And then we got word that we have another missing person. It just didn't seem like it was going to end.
Over a dozen Alaska state troopers, including a special emergency response team outfitted with automatic weapons and combat gear, converge on Manley Hot Springs. But they have no idea that the suspected killer they seek is a former military man. Michael Silka joined the Army after graduating high school in Illinois and did a tour of duty at Fort Wainwright outside Fairbanks. Before making his way to Manley, he spent a few months holed up in a remote Canadian town.
He was very much to himself, lived in a hotel room, didn't get out very much. When he did, paid everything in cash. Everything was paid in cash. No one knew where he worked, though, so they didn't know where he was getting his money.
People there noticed he carried a number of rifles and shotguns in the back of his beat-up Dodge sedan.
Silka was a guy from the lower 48, fancies himself as a mountain man. You know, he had a minor criminal history where he was from, criminal offenses for firearms, loved to carry firearms, but came from a place where really that was frowned upon.
Silka came to Manley Hot Springs dreaming of living off the land. People there accepted him with open arms. Joe McVeigh and his wife even took the newcomer home and fed him a dinner of bear meat.
The people of Manley Hot Springs took this guy under their wings, gave him opportunities in a short period of time, but did what all small Alaska communities do. They took him in. And these people had no idea that evil was in their midst.
Now, police fear the wild man may have splashed his name in blood across the tiny town.
You think bad things long enough, you'll end up doing them. Been having trouble with law enforcement all the way from Illinois, all the way up through Canada, and now here in Alaska. There is no place else to go. He's at the end of the road now.
Some people escape to Manley Hot Springs to escape themselves, really, you know, and what they end up confronting is themselves because it's such an intensely powerful place. A man alone with his thoughts at the end of the road can be a very dangerous thing, without a shadow of a doubt.
As troopers set out to find him, they are keenly aware they're up against a risky set of circumstances. A dangerous suspect in a cover of secluded brush.
He knew what was up. He knew exactly what was up. Yeah, and he was prepared to die. That's a formidable foe.
Using 2 helicopters and a single-engine plane, troopers scour the area. Suddenly, the pilot spots a man in a flat-bottom boat towing a loaded canoe. The pilot recognizes Michael Silka at the wheel and sees an arsenal of weapons in the boat.
Be advised, he has a large cache of weapons inside his boat. He is heavily armed.
Armed with M16s, troopers orchestrate a plan.
The 2 helicopters initially wanted to come in together on either side of the suspect so that they could get him in a crossfire or they could divert his attention back and forth. That was the principle.
The chopper continues en route towards Silka's location. From inside, Trooper Troy Duncan and his best friend Trooper Jeff Hall spot the canoe tethered behind the riverboat. As the helicopter begins an awkward descent into the wind, Trooper Hall spots Silka behind the dense brush along the riverbank.
We came right directly at him. He was out of the boat, standing on the edge of the bank, which is fairly steep. And when he saw us, he made a dive for the boat to get his weapon. At that point, we knew that he wasn't going to give up, which we had hoped he would.
Realizing Silka has the upper hand,
Yeah, we're taking fire, look this up.
Hall yells for the pilot to pull back.
We had doors off the front and rear left side of the helicopter. And they came in sideways, and they came in low, and this fellow had taken position and fired 1 round into the rear seat of the helicopter. It went by the trooper and into the top of the helicopter,
And then Captain Lawrence started hollering, "We're hit." And I'm checking my gauges on the helicopter.
You're contained, you're moving, there's the noise, and we're not committed to killing him until he acts upon us. He's committed right from the get-go.
Alaska state troopers descend on suspected multiple murderer Michael Silka from the air, unaware he has positioned himself for a gun battle.
It wasn't war. At least we didn't know it was war. We have to go at it like we're the state police. Drop your gun. Come out and let us see where you're at. We have to contact them and do what we do. But he was very well prepared to kill us and to be killed himself.
They had a certain plan. That plan went awry. They were hoping to kind of come up behind him on the river and surprise him that way.
But Silka has strategically positioned himself, taking cover in the thick brush.
There he is right down there.
The second troopers spot him. It's too late.
So they were hovering not very high over him. He let loose with a gunshot.
They call for the pilot to pull up, but there isn't enough time.
Captain Lawrence started hollering, "We're hit." And I'm checking my gauges on the helicopter, but I thought he was referring to the aircraft. And he finally said, "Troy is hit."
Troy Duncan took that .30-06, hit him in the face and took his head off.
I got him.
Seconds later, Trooper Hall empties a 20-round clip and cuts Silka down.
Bringing a shot.
His is on fully automatic. He just walked the bullets right into him when he did fire.
He couldn't compete with an M16 machine gun.
Okay, he's down. He's down. Copy, he's down.
Silka is hit at least 5 times. He dies instantly. Troopers then turn their attention to their fallen comrade.
I saw an open field with tundra, nothing but tundra there, a small field. And I landed so they could check Troy out. Jeff got out of the helicopter and checked Troy and came back and said there was nothing they could do for him. He was already dead.
Troy Duncan is only the 3rd state trooper to fall in the line of duty in the 25 years since Alaska became a state.
We all realize this as troopers, certainly as CERT team members, is that we're going against a foe that is willing to die. Maybe it's his wish, even. Silka was committed to his cause, and he didn't have any rules. He was ready, he felt he was trapped, and he was willing to die. And so he did.
In the days after the melee, folks in town refused to give up hope.
And the guys were all searching and stuff, and I remember myself going out in the woods and stuff because I always thought that a lot of these serial killers and stuff a lot of times don't kill women and little kids. So I thought maybe he had them tied up possibly in the woods somewhere.
At the same time, divers search the Tanana River for the missing. But the silty river bottom sucks them down to their ankles, and they have to be pulled out.
It's a huge and dangerous river that doesn't give up bodies very, very easily.
Meanwhile, investigators and survivors are desperate to understand the madman's motive.
He was a time bomb waiting to go off, and unfortunately, he went off in Manley and did great damage to the community there. I think it was a case of the wrong place, wrong time, and this individual was ready to snap, and he snapped right there.
Investigators contend that Silka likely got into an argument with Joe McVeigh or his best friend Dale down at the boat dock.
What are you guys doing here?
What are you doing here?
This is my fishing spot.
Your spot? You a local?
What are you fishing for?
Bass and muskie.
You're here from around
There's
here.
no bass up here.
Yeah.
What do you got in here?
From, dude?
Yeah,
What are you
this is
fucking living out of the street?
What are you doing? You got some shorts in there?
Back off, right?
Who's this guy? Who the hell do you think you are, bro?
Hey, man, no. Come on, man. Back off.
Get out here.
Dude, let it go, man. Let it go. Don't have to do that.
Excuse me.
You stay back.
Back off, Dale. Shut your mouth.
Who is this?
He's gonna leave, okay? It's not
What's this
working.
guy think he's doing?
Matter, man.
Put that down, man. What are you doing? Hey.
He then lost his temper and shot them.
Stop. Let's think about this, okay?
The other residents showed up while Silka was dragging his victims to the river.
People just happened to just show up at the wrong time to the river, and he had evidence there that he had to get rid of, so he just kept killing people in order to get rid of the evidence.
And the poor people at the landing came down there unarmed, unsuspecting, not thinking they're going into a gun battle. And he shot them all.
Whoa, buddy. What are you doing? Put the gun down.
He shot them in the head. So he was very determined and very purposeful.
Trapper Fred Burke had the misfortune of encountering Silka while traveling down the river to fix his car.
Hey man, what's going on? I heard gunshots. What's with all the blood? Oh, no.
When Freddie Burke showed up with his boat, that was his way of escaping. It was pretty devastating, particularly if you think about it, there was 10% of the population was killed in one day.
By the end of the summer, the river had given up the bodies of Joe McVeigh, Dale Medaiske, Lyman Klein, and Fred Burke. All had been shot in the head. Lyman's pregnant wife and their son have never been found. Neither has Albert Hagen Jr. The body of Roger Culp, the man who went missing in Hopkinsville, never surfaces either.
I truly believe he was probably in that mound behind the cabin when I was there the first day. Michael probably took Roger through the woods. It was a very short distance to the river, and put him into the river because there was never a trace and he was never found. He never asked us for anything or any help other than that piece of moose hide. But I think that he wanted the moose hide to cover up the murder.
The total number of Silka's victims may never be known. 2 days before Silka made his way to Manley, Fred Burke and his ex-brother-in-law saw the drifter's vehicle parked some 30 miles outside of town. They noticed 3 people in the front seat. One they later identified as Silka.
My ex-husband said, hey, let's stop and see if they need help. And my brother says, no, people get killed like that, let's go. He just had a bad feeling, so they kept going. And he noticed that the people were looking scared. They were just like petrified looking.
Michael Silka arrived in Manley alone.
To this day, no one really knows what happened to those 2 people. They very well could be dead and buried someplace in the tundra out there.
Nobody knew who the 2 people were. We don't have no other reported missing people. They could have been hitchhikers.
Those who survived the massacre in Manley equate it to a game of Russian roulette. They say it could have been any one of them at the dock that day.
It was timing. It was just a miracle of timing. We just weren't on time to be a victim.
In those days, I used to go down there almost every day. But some reason I didn't go that particular day, and I was lucky.
At the request of his father, Michael Silka was buried in the National Cemetery in Sitka, Alaska.
He was an honorably discharged soldier, and he has that right. What's more ironic about that is the State Trooper Training Academy is right next door to the cemetery. They've had to unmark the grave for whatever reason.
The rifle he used to take out Trooper Troy Duncan remains on display at the Academy.
It's a reminder of what can happen, that you're going to walk into the jaws of danger often. Amongst this beauty are these people that have come here for evil reasons, and it's their last stronghold.